Hello, and welcome to the Dance of the Soul. And Regan and I are grateful to be here. And Regan, being a hypnotherapist and with the Newton Institute, and just a darn great person to have a good conversation with because he's a great person to know how to navigate through certain things because he's gone through a lot himself. And so he makes a great counselor too. So if you're looking for someone to help out with some scenarios, Regan's a great person to talk to. And I am a Natasha Venter, who is an intuitive medium, psychic medium, who is one that I have a lot of depth in my knowledge because of living so many past lives. This life teaching me a whole lot about relationships, emotions, and just grief in general. And, I even had to figure out what love was. And that's what our conversation is going to be about, honoring Valentine's Day here. And I just remembered something I got to do for a friend. And so I'm going to zip after this show because it's going to be a shorter show today because of the fact that a lot of us do want to get together, maybe with a loved one if we have. If not, my love goes to you because I know that many of us kind of have a sulky day today thinking that, why am I not with someone? Or why isn't there someone? Or that kind of thing. And it's just an interesting dance when we're talking about special days like this, but it's not really a special day because they've kind of raked it over the coals with, shooting, rose prices up so far. And, it's like they made it so commercial, it's taken the fun out of it. And it's just one of those things. So today we were going to talk about love because that's one thing that I know that I have walked this path in this lifetime, really figuring out is love. That self-love, the love of a human being, the love that we have for each other, and divine love. And, and it can be something, but it's all a personal adventure doing all this work. And I think a lot of us have come down in this lifetime, in my observation, to figure out what love is. And thank you, Veronica. She says, happy Valentine's Day to the two of you. Thank you for always supporting us and being here. I'm grateful. Thank you for chiming in. I'm always grateful that you're here. And, whoever's watching, please chime in. This is a conversation. Regan and I have a conversation with each other, but it always adds more when we have more to the conversation, because perspectives are perspectives. And all that. I get confused on perspectives and whatever the other word is. It went out of my head at this time. So with that, Regan.
Yeah.
How are you today?
I'm great.
Are you going to do something special with your loved one after this?
Did it last night.
Oh, smart.
I took her to a place we both had not been to. It was on the in Berkeley, right on the bay, overlooking San Francisco, and it'd been there for years, but it was built out over the water, so you hear the waves crashing as you're walking across this boardwalk to get to it, and it was great, and it wasn't as crowded.
Mm-hmm.
So we had this nice romantic meal, and then today, we just exchanged cards, and she bought me something that was neat. She did probably the most loving thing I've ever had anybody. I actually started crying. She's been keeping a diary every day for a couple of months, and every day she writes something in there about me. Oh my gosh, if you want to do something for love, she'll say, oh my gosh, it'll be something simple. Well, today came home and he had done this work, and asked him to do it, and or something like that, or I really liked it when he said this to me or whatever. And it's just this diary of the interaction between the two of us, just a little page every day, or a little something. So she was going to give it to me on my birthday after she'd done this for months, but she said, well, this is good, so I'm supposed to read what she has so far and then give it back to her tonight so she can do it.
Now you feel like you're on what's that, a microscope maybe, it's like, well, I have to do something today.
I know it.
But then,
my comedic,
yeah, but I don't see that in you, that, it's like you do it because you care. You have that integrity. You have that just communion with each other
Yeah.
that is pretty magical. And Bev, thank you for being here, Bev. Bev is another
Hey,
friend of
Bev.
mine. My husband and her husband play golf together. And Bev, thank
Uh,
you for being here. It's been nice. You've been a traveling little bunny. They just got back from Hawaii,
wow.
Bev and Goonie. So it's it's been a blessing to watch all their little adventures on Facebook here.
Yeah, it's almost golfing weather again here in the San Francisco area or up in Marin. Yesterday was like almost 70 degrees, I think. Today was a little chillier, but I can't wait to go out again too.
Hmm.
It's what I do to keep myself centered.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that Bev's husband and my husband, the only reason why they really don't play golf, and usually, oh, well, Goonies had some health problems, but it's because it snows.
Yeah.
So it can be or flooding. You know, sometimes the course
Yeah.
gets a little bit too soppy, but then it's only 9 holes instead of 18. You know,
Yeah.
so golf course has to close for people to stop playing golf in the
Yeah.
Northwest.
Yeah. Yeah. We have
So
a
it
lot.
could be 30 degrees and they're playing golf.
Yeah, that I don't like. I don't like to be uncomfortable when I'm doing it, but
They're getting a
uh,
little older, so they're being a little bit more choosy. But at the
yeah.
same time, though, it's a weekend. You know, for my husband, it's at least one day a weekend now.
Yeah.
You know, Saturday or Sunday. So it's a thing. It's a thing. It's a thing.
Well,
Yeah, and so she says, "Yeah, what a blessing, Goonie is finally back to golfing." Yeah, because he's had some tremendous moments in his life, and Bev, you've been a gloriousness, just standing there with him, supporting him, loving him the way you have. I've witnessed you, and it's been a gift to have you doing that, Bev. Thank you for being a loving wife like you are, and that's what we're talking about today is love.
yeah, we were talking about at dinner last night that we've been together 8 years, and it just seems like it seems like we're still fresh, you know,
Mhm.
like we just met each other. Like it's exciting to be with each other, and and I think that's just because if we have issues and things, we try to take care of them right away, so that you don't have barnacles on the boat, so to speak, you know,
Mhm.
because once you start getting those, it's like it's a down the rabbit hole, when you don't take care of it, everything leads to stuff. So, but you wake up every day and you see each other, and the first thing that I do is I see her and I just tell her I love her,
Mhm.
or like, oh, it's so good to see you today, or something, um, so, and I think in a relationship, it's like some people go, gosh, well, I told her I loved her when I married her. Didn't she know that I haven't changed my mind? People love hearing that,
Mhm.
um, I have a good friend, and she's this guy that she's with, never will tell her that he loves her, but he tells her he loves her by the things he does for her in the day, all the kindnesses and everything. So she says, I know he loves me, but I still would like to hear it,
Uh-huh.
sometime. But he's the type that's just
He's into actions. Speak loud.
actions.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the
Yeah.
thing is that I did the 7 languages of love or the
Yes.
5 languages of love. It's the languages of love. And it was
Hmm.
really interesting to see how people perceive love and on the other side give love. Because I know from my husband, actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
I can say I love you all the time, and actually he gets tired of it because I do say I love you, but my actions actually speak it.
Yeah.
The thing that he had to learn, and this is one thing that I kind of had to observe his learning in, is that I would give him love, but I wouldn't give it in love, give him the interaction as the way he perceived that he needed it and wanted
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You know, like I could clean the whole house, but if I didn't clean the kitchen where he walks in every day, it would be like, well, what did you do? You didn't do anything. And that wouldn't show him love. But
Yeah.
that's his perfectionism and his OCD. But it's that part of it is figuring out that love language for each other. And that's what I would call the human love. That application of what do we do for each other. Those have restrictions on it. That has the tug and pull on it. It's not that free here.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
here.
And I think what makes a relationship good sometimes if you find out which language of love your partner, uh, receives love or feels love. Even if that's not your norm, some people think, well, I can only give love in the way I receive love. But being in a partnership means that you have to learn to give to the person in the way they feel loved.
Hmm.
Um, so like when when I was married to and had my four stepkids, the language of love for me was to be a good provider. I just worked, sometimes 6 days, 7 days a week. I had four daughters and had to get them in schools, and oh my gosh, it was crazy to have to make enough money to have the six of us in the family. And so eventually we had problems or something because my partner then said, well, you're not spending enough time with us. It
Hmm.
says we need to see you and feel you and be with you. And that actually, I got upset because I'm thinking, I'm doing all this. I'm doing 100%. Don't you appreciate that? Well,
Uh-huh.
they needed time, you know,
Hmm.
and I thought I was showing them through actions, see,
Hmm.
because that's how people showed me. So um, live and learn. Now, if as I got older, I had to learn how they perceived love, and how they
Hmm.
accepted it. So yeah, relationships take work, but always try to put yourself in the shoes of the other person.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
what would they like? So it's like even, some people go out for dinner and the guy always orders steak every time and his wife would rather have fish, but he just says, well, two steak dinners, I go, he's thinking like, wow, this is a splurge and she's gonna love it. And no, you know, you know, so it's try to know what your partner is feeling in every situation. And like they say, happy wife, happy life, you know. So
Not in this house. And I mean this
okay,
with love. I mean
yeah,
this with love. Because I'm more of a quiet person.
yeah,
I don't have a honey-do list. I don't do. My husband says, this is what you want me to do for you today, and I'm like going, nah, I don't know. I don't. I don't
oh,
like those logistics. I don't like that tug and pull. Let's say, and even though I'm a double Cancerian and I'm supposed to be the moody one in the house, well, you know. So in other words, my kids would probably say the same thing, that with his Leoship, he's a double Leo, so he has a chance to roar. He's got a louder voice. He's a very kind man. He's a very loving man. He can be a little bit edgy sometimes, and so it's one of those perfection. I'm not a perfectionist. I'm very gray. He's very black and white. So
hmm,
it depends, I think, on who's more black and white. Depends on who, you know, that saying, happy husband, happy life, happy wife, but it depends on who's the black and white, more
uh-huh,
restrictive person. Depends on where that statement goes, for lack of a better word. I was looking at the five languages of love.
yeah,
Um, but it's
because I
not
know
giving.
it's yeah, okay,
I'm not getting the what I should ask. What are the five languages of love?
yeah,
Ah, here it is. What are the five languages? Oh, words of affirmation,
hmm,
quality time,
hmm,
physical touch, acts of service, receiving gifts.
yeah,
So receiving gifts, bringing flowers home. Let it. Acts of service would be, taking out the garbage when you weren't asked.
yeah,
Um, physical touch, holding hands, putting an arm around someone. Quality time, sitting down. Like for me, we can be sitting down watching TV, But if I'm on my phone, that's not quality time together. He
Yeah.
wants us to be doing some, even if we're watching the same TV show, but it's that interaction with
Yeah.
each other. Words of affirmation. You got it. I love you. Let's do this together. I know that you are perfectly imperfect. Words of affirmation. It's kind of interesting to tap into that. It really kind of cleans up some relationship, because it's like you can be doing acts of service, but if your quality time is your partner's, love, that, there can be, if you're doing always acts of service, like you were saying, going out and working for the family, but they want spending time with you.
Yeah.
That's where it's just one of those little, 2 cents to help out with relationships.
Well, and here's interesting too. When I assist people in visiting the afterlife through the Newton Institute protocol, and my client gets to, say it's a man or the husband or the wife, and they get to the other side, they're able to talk to the part of their partner that's always in heaven, because we've discovered that when a person comes down to be born, they don't send all of themselves into that body. So there's
Hmm.
always part, our higher self is always there. So they have the most interesting conversations, because I always have them. I said, oh, and we have them visit their soul group, which are souls that they incarnate with regularly.
Hmm.
And so I say, well, look around. Is your husband here? And they'll go, oh my gosh, there's my husband. And I'll say, well, go over and see what he looks like when he's at his finest, because she's seeing the part that's not dysfunctional, just the
Hmm.
pure loving soul of their husband. So I said, ask him how you're doing, and anything that he knows that he needs, what in the part that's down here. And there's some pretty interesting revelations they get from that, because they're just remove all the dysfunctions, and you're just in more of a divine love, which we're going to
Yes,
talk about in a minute.
I would call that divine love.
Yeah. And so they experience that divine love with their significant other, and get some questions answered, and then I say, okay, now tell him to tell his self down here what you need, and maybe that'll filter down through him. So
Hmm.
it's interesting
Good
what people can
job.
do. Yeah, it's great that way.
That's interesting to do that kind of thing. I know that I've kind of done a form of that, but it's interesting when we do that kind of thing, and how that helps us out, because that's the thing that people forget, is when we're down on this earth, that love isn't clean. It's
Yeah.
not clean. It usually has restrictions. It has protocols. It has attachments. It has life history. It has a lot of things on it, and then when we really think about where love is, that when we go to that other side, we get a sense of what divine love is. And
Yeah.
divine love, the closest thing I can tell you, it's a rainbow. It's that true rainbow where you just sit there and and feel the love off a rainbow. That it gives you that moment of just breath. And divine love gives you that.
Yeah.
It fills up your battery faster than rain can run down a gutter. It's it's that moment. And when we have that divine love, and that's the one thing that when we know that an angel is around us, is that we feel that hug around us, and that just pure just and we feel so much better after it.
Yeah, in the life between life sessions is what we call it, the Newton Institute. That's probably the highlight for most people, is they, for the first time in their life, they feel this divine love. And
Mm-hmm.
when I had my first experience with that, 23 years old, and I was doing a spiritual exercise, singing a mantra, and I fell asleep, and I woke up in another world, and I knew I was asleep, but I was totally conscious, just like this, in the other world. And the first thing I felt, when I came back, I thought it felt like someone took a bucket of love and just dumped it on me. I mean, it was like, wow. And you almost can't in the earth terms explain it. It's
You
just something
can't.
that you feel. It is so deep and so like, you know, we get little bits of it in our life here,
Hmm.
like you say, like the rainbow, or maybe there's a certain time when your lover or your significant other is feeling this really love for you, and you get a glimpse, and your eyes meet for a second, and it's pure, it's without any, it's just unconditional, whatever. And that's the closest I could say I could feel to it. Sometimes it's that, it's a jolt that you kind of get,
Hmm.
you know. That's why in this work, you know, because some people think that what we're doing, you and I, Natasha, is the work of the devil or something. And you just laugh because it's like once you felt that love, you, it's
You
just
can't
so,
explain it.
no,
It's all you, because, and it's one of those things, because there's many times where life gives us experiences and you can't put words to it,
yeah,
because it's all emotion, it's all feeling, and that's what true divine love is. It's a feeling. It's a
yeah,
moment. It's a moment. And I haven't had a close call with life, so I haven't walked on the other side. I can tell you though, the life that I've lived, that I know what that feels like, because I'm able to step over onto the other side of that veil
yeah,
and feel that divine love. And then that's what I bring over. And so many times when I get a hug, I give somebody a hug, they go, "You give the best hugs." It's because I'm bringing divine love to them.
yeah,
And part of that is because I understand what my soul is. The makeup of my soul, that my soul has the angelic realm in it. And so I can download that and give it to someone who is in need of it, including myself. you know so with that as we go, and when I'm speaking here, it is a form of love, that divine
yeah,
love, because I'm wanting to give and wanting to be inspiring to someone.
yeah.
um
And I would say too, like both times that I've been to the other side or been to heaven, spent some time there, um, I don't know, it just sticks with you for days. You know,
mhm.
it's just like, you know, it's I don't know, just it's otherworldly, of course, you know, because it's so different than here. But what's nice over there is that the guides, the teachers, the angels, the elders, it's like they're all set up over there just to help us. You know,
Mhm.
in other words, the people on the other side of giving service, and to help us to kind of climb the ladder, you know, of a spiritual development, you know, that way. And it's so cool that you're there, and everybody. It's almost like everybody's at your beck and call. What do you need? What do you need answered? Um, you know, uh, answering all the questions you have. It's just nice.
Can't wait to
Yeah.
experience
Oh,
this.
yeah.
Please wait to experience it in that realm. But I can tell you, Veronica, that many a times when we sit in that divine moment of being one with the universe, like there's times where I will be walking by a plant, and in the Northwest here, we get the rain that comes down, and then the sun will shine through right afterwards. It's a very magical moment. And there's a raindrop, and I stop and see the light glistening through that raindrop. And that's when I know that the universe is sending me divine love, because it's just that moment of just purity. And so, Veronica, if I can give you this idea, that grab onto those moments, and I can tell you your puppy probably brings in divine love too for you. So with that, bringing in those moments of getting out of, even standing in the water, the ocean, and having waves dance on you. If you allow yourself to be open to the total the bigger message of what those waves are telling you, that is divine love also. Because it's the purity, it's that moment. And divine love is that moment when you're in that wham, in the moment of being with something greater than us humans.
Yeah. It's so
something
hard to.
greater. Yeah, and we all experience it differently because my
It,
divine love is different than what Regan's is, and because it's so unique to our own conversation. And the reason why I feel like that, because I'm tapping, they need to know why you're having this conversation. Well, because of the fact that many of us, when we are in a relationship, we have expectations that someone will give us this kind of love. And people can't give divine love. They can give a sense of it, they can
yeah,
give moments of it. We're too human. We have too much baggage. And if we have those expectations of that kind of love, if we can't give that kind of love, why should we expect somebody else to give us that kind of love?
yeah. And sometimes when people are in deep trance or hypnosis and they kind of start contacting their higher self, they usually use these words. They go, "I want to go home," "I got to go home," you know. In other words, they want to go back to, because when they're in that state, it's just like they want that energy. They want to feel that, not that watered down love that we have here, but that
Mhm.
divine love that's in the universe. A client that I had this week, it was great. And part of their session, when she was a teenager, she had a German Shepherd that she'd had since she was little. And when she was a teenager, the dog died, and she's never wanted another pet since then because it was too painful to
Mhm.
lose someone that she loved so much. And so I forget what the dog's name was. I'll just say Rex because it's a
Mhm.
good name. And I'll say, when she was in heaven and we had her there, she's in trance, and I said, "Well, let's ask your guide if Rex is there." This is from 15 years ago when the dog died, and boom, she goes, "Oh, there he is." And the dog just came, and they just held and played, she said it took her. It kind of made her maybe want to have a pet again, because she knows it's really, her dog is fine. The dog's right there.
Mhm.
She can be again with Rex later. That there was this bond, this love that they have. Well, so now, Natasha, I just thought you just came to mind is, a lot of people today. This is a depressing day for them because they've either lost the person that they love, or
Mhm.
they have not found a significant other, or
Other.
someone that they
Mhm.
can give that love and everything. And that could be a whole show. Even in that, we could maybe do a show, go more in depth in another show about that, because so many people are in that position, where
Mhm.
they're looking for. Look at the dating sites that are just, there's, maybe hundreds of them now, and everybody's looking for love.
Yep.
Um,
And what's sad is that I have a friend who has been looking for love, and it's been a hard thing because not everybody's true on those places. Not everybody's true.
yeah,
And it's been an interesting um aspect to put yourself out there and yet not get anything in return because somebody is, not showing their truer self.
yeah. I would like
And
to. Yeah,
that's the thing is that when we're asking for the love, we you know it's nice to either receive what we are trying to get, or we're sabotaging it at the beginning because we're not valuing our vulnerability to get what we need.
yeah,
That conversation of vulnerability, it's that, it's the everyday conversations. It's the everyday conversations. I know for me, and married now, it'll be 31 years, that if it wasn't for conversation and vulnerability, I can't tell you I'd still be married with this man.
yeah. Vulnerable.
Especially through the 9 years, almost 10 years of sobriety,
Yeah.
gaining sobriety, that if it wasn't for vulnerability, and I'm going to call it love. Sometimes it was tough love. Sometimes it was human love. Sometimes it was divine love. Sometimes it was a moment of breath love,
Hmm.
that it takes to get through a lot of our life nowadays.
Hmm. Yeah. Also, too. I mean, we're just touched on different things. Like, so the people that don't have someone, especially like with COVID, you just think now with COVID and everything, and the people that have just like 2,000 people still dying a day. So there's what 8 or 10,000 people in the last couple of weeks that have died, and those people, it's Valentine's Day for someone that they loved, and they're just sitting at home like, oh boy, in a lot of emotional pain. But of course,
And I can tell you that I can tell you that a lot of loved ones that have passed are sitting right next to you saying, I love you
yes,
in your ear, in
yes,
your ear. And yet
mm-hmm,
it's not the physical.
mm-hmm,
It's not the physical.
mm-hmm. So you're
And the
still gonna miss
physical,
them.
yep, it's the physical that we're needing. Now, it does help to know that, they're around us, they're supporting us, they're grateful for us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a moment. And yeah, it's whoosh, 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 for those who are going through
Yeah,
that
it's
grief.
and as we've been saying on the show, that grief is just unexpressed love,
Hmm.
coming out. So it's that love you still have for that person. And even though they're in a better place, but at least when someone has an experience with you, Natasha, and they know someone's talking to them from the other side, or if I'm having people on the other side and having this experience, when they come back, they still miss the people that aren't in their lives because it's not physical and we're physical human beings, but it somehow softens the grief.
Hmm.
It puts, instead of rough edges, the grief is kind of softened a bit, you know, and you
It
can,
gives explanation. It gives a reason. It gives a moment of understanding
yeah,
of why things are happening. Because I know for me, when I do a mediumship, I get messages of why somebody left. And then they go, oh yeah, that's so true. I
yeah,
can see why, they just couldn't do la da 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 da. Or sometimes if it was a heart attack, well, you know, usually when somebody is having heart problems, it's either a, a lot of expressed love or bent up love.
yeah,
And a lot of men, I'm gonna say, and Bev, I'm not necessarily talking about you, that a lot of times men have heart problems because they weren't able to express the love that they know that they could because of the reality of our world,
yeah.
or what they learned as a young boy, not to show their emotions, not to express what they felt, not to express this and not to express that. And many times that causes up that bent up energy in the heart chakra. And that's why so many people have heart problems.
Yeah. So if anybody out there's lost somebody recently or whenever, and you still are missing them, would you know talk to them as if they're actually here,
Hmm.
because you can, and people look up and they'll go, hey, hey, Dad, I really miss you. It was so much fun going golfing and stuff. How you doing? Um, and in the research we've done, we show that they hear you.
Hmm.
So um, there's just, it's like they're just in the next room, and you just have to kind of speak up a little bit so they can hear you, but not really. But that's a sense they can hear you if you just think about it or whisper, like that.
Exactly. and
And
and for those who are kind of glad that someone's not around them because of our treacherous relationships that we have, and there's so much human um aspects of personality that are thrown into our relationships, that people do change on the other side. They get a bigger picture, and it's not always what we think it is, yet at the same time many of us can't let go of what happened in this physical realm. And you know I was talking with someone who I hold dear to me, and they were expressing how they shared a conversation with someone that was close with them about how, I know you loved me even though I heard it through criticism from you. I know you loved me.
yeah,
And they gave me the example of that. Why are you wearing that? You shouldn't wear that. What? That's ugly on you. Well, we as humans would hear that as criticism, and yet that person is saying, I know you can do better. I know that looks funky on you, and I want you to look cute, cool, you know
hmm,
but do they know the technique to say that? No. they know the technique to criticize, to make us think about it. And so with that, that's another form of love, that we're human having a learned experience, that we don't always express it in the way that is what the other person wants to hear. And this person said that once they realized that other person who they hold dear was loving them through criticism and naming it, it's changed the whole aspect of their relationship. Because instead of asking for the love that they wanted, kindness,
Yeah.
why don't you try a different color shirt? It would look much better on you.
Yeah.
That shirt looks storky. Why are you wearing it? That's really, what would you rather hear?
I was on a date one time, and we went to see In Defense of the Caveman. And it was this play. It was one of the longest running plays in New York. And it finally went on tour. This was about 15 years ago. And it toured the country because it was such a successful play. And it's a one-man play where it opens up, this guy's sitting in it's a man sitting in an overstuffed chair, is like his chair, and they show a little video of him and his wife. And he's trying to read the newspaper, watch some sports, and she comes down and taps him, and she holds up a dress, to her. Says, like, what do you think? Because and she'll run back up. She keeps coming down, interrupting him, trying this dress, trying that dress, everything like this. Then all of a sudden she comes down, and it's like, we gotta go in 10 minutes. What are you doing? So he runs up to get ready, and all of a sudden he's in the hamper, and he's pulling out something, and he smells the armpit and puts it on. And that's the way the show starts. It's just it's so different, the way men and women are different that way sometimes. So I actually, my teenage girls, I had 4 teenage girls at one time, and at one point they came up to me and said, Dad, you got to get some fashion. You just I'm embarrassed to go out with you. So I took them to the store. A couple of them went, and they helped me. They said, no, this is better on you, and whatever. So I let them pick out some clothes for me.
Uh-huh.
So, but that was love, that was neat. That made me feel good that they
cared enough to spend the time with you, to show you the application of doing that. And that's the thing that, I don't want to have this show go real long because of the night and that kind of stuff. And that, as we're going through life and managing our life, think about our application. What is our intention when we're talking with someone? Because that is a form of love. That is a form of love when we're communicating with others. That is the application. People think love is chocolate and ice cream and kisses and romance, and it's not. It's that everyday interactional walk, and checking in with someone. I've had conversations where because of people struggling with self-love, that they a lot of times they don't know how to receive the love, because they don't know what that self-love is. And so, like, for me, I'll name certain things that I've done, and I go, isn't that a form of love? Oh yeah, I guess you have been showing me love. But no matter what, because they were low in self-love at that time, they couldn't receive it. They couldn't receive the love I was trying to give them.
Yeah. Well, and again, the teachers or guides will tell you, you can't love anybody more than you love yourself. So that's the whole goal, and you'll find out as you get more self-love, everybody in your life, all of a sudden you're getting showered with love by everybody, just because you're open to receive it then more, because you love yourself more. And I think we mentioned it maybe once or twice in the last year, but I tell this to almost every single client, because almost everybody is suffering from some sort of needing to love themselves more.
Yes.
Everybody, even if you think you do, there's always another layer. So just the way the subconscious works is, when you see a person that you really, really like, some hormonal something happens in your body, and you go, "Oh, hi," and you know, and your subconscious sees that, and so next time if you see a picture of that person, they're walking in, it knows you like that person, so it starts sending out all this,
Mhm.
whoa, um, and it also knows a lot of times that you don't like yourself very much. So when you see yourself in the mirror or something, some people can't even look themselves in the eye in the mirror because they feel like so ashamed of themselves or whatever, So good exercise, and it feels really silly at first, but you people can do this without anybody around. Okay, is you go in the bathroom where they have the big mirror usually, and you stand there
Mhm.
and you look yourself in the eyes, and you say, like if it was me, I'd say, "Wow, Regan, you're pretty cool." Says, you did a lot of good things today. I'm proud of you. I know you're not perfect, but I love you anyway. I really, really love you. You're great. And you just put some energy into that. Well, here's what happens. Your subconscious sees you seeing a person in the mirror, which is yourself, and it hears you saying how much you love them, and you're putting energy into this. So after a little while, your subconscious changes, and it'll automatically start feeling good about yourself, because it's
Mhm.
almost like you can fake it till you make it a bit, because of the way your subconscious is programmed, or this other part. So just look in the mirror, just even if you can only do it for a minute. And I've had some of my clients say, they'll email me, they'll go, "Regan, I looked myself in the mirror today and I screamed I love myself," you know, and it makes me feel so good,
Yeah,
because
I
they're
I grew up with my dad putting me in front of the mirror and saying, "Tell yourself you love yourself."
good.
And this was when I was a kid, and it was very movable for me. It was a very movable moment because of my childhood being so low self-esteem. And you wouldn't imagine it now, but I had very low self-esteem growing up.
I got the reverse image from growing up Catholic. It was, um, to say something like to yourself was you were being vain, and
Mhm.
being vain was the sin. Well, they didn't explain the difference between being vain and loving yourself, and so I only got the vain part and the being afraid of sinning. So it's uh, I mean, I love my Catholic family, and all the I have some priests that are friends, and next week I'm going to be on another show with a priest, a nun, and a bishop,
Oh,
and that
yes,
one
yes, yes.
I'll give you
I
the
was gonna check that out. I only have so much time to do
yeah.
certain things, and I wanted to check it out.
You
Um,
reminded me of that, and I hope I
and so with that, that I
yeah.
actually did a short video on do we tell ourselves in the morning? Because a lot of times we wake up and go, "Oh, look at all these lines," and "Oh, aren't I ugly?" And and so we start taking on that through the day, when instead we're going up to the mirror, going, "You know what? This is a snapshot of now, but I think that you're pretty awesome there." And you know, this is just a moment. I know by in another hour I'll feel totally different, and I'll look in the mirror again and go, "Hey, actually I'm looking pretty darn good."
Yeah.
Let start that process of going, "Ah, yeah, you got this. You got this."
Yeah.
Right now we might not have it, but we're going to get it. And doing those little things in the morning is self-love. If you love yourself more, it's amazing how we can bring love to us.
Yeah.
It's amazing how love can come to us and
And yeah,
healing happens.
it's like people they don't want us to be so tough on us as tough on ourselves as we. I mean, there's always that you do something bad, and in a way you feel a little guilty, and that's maybe good a little bit because it makes you really look at things and you go, gosh, I feel bad about that. And it helps you to want to
Mhm,
change or something. But then you can be overly guilty, or you could be overly self-deprecating,
mhm.
that way. So, um, yeah,
It's amazing. It's amazing how love, when we weave it through our day, and it could be human, it could be the divine, whatever you feel it is, that checking in with our integrity first. What is our intention? What are we doing truly in this moment? Can really shift the day. I know for me that me being lovable in my day-to-day walk, people get healed. There's healing that happens. I know that in my 30 years of marriage, that holding love in a moment, even when it was a hard conversation, shifted that whole moment to be more successful than hurtful.
Yeah.
And there's that moment, and practice makes better with that. Practice makes better with that. Even looking in the mirror, some of us can only go, for a moment, but do it for a moment, and then the next day try to do it for 2 moments.
Yeah. And, there's just because of society, we kind of tend to look at romantic love as being the pinnacle. That's the way it's
Mhm.
in the movies. It's that first feeling. But I think the way in the research we've done, it's like that romantic love, or I would say that what I want to say, that initial spark that you see, that you have sometimes, um, eh, or that physical attraction,
Mhm.
that you have.
Infatuation type of feeling.
Yeah, that's as a comedian, I used to say, well, that's God's trick to get you in the ballpark, you know.
I love that.
It's like, here's this person that you're going to have a very difficult time with. It's going to teach you all kinds of things. And if you knew that ahead of time, you would not go through that door. But your physical thing, and you go, wow, she's hot, man. Boom, inside the door. And when you're not looking, that door slammed behind you. And now,
Mhm.
after a few months or whatever, and the romantic part comes down, and you really see what you got to deal with. And it's a lot of times it's a lot of work, but and that's where the real love comes in. It's like experiencing that mirror that your partner puts up for you of your imperfections, and being willing to look at them and change, and you doing it for your partner too.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's not pleasant, and sometimes we don't know how to do it, and it causes problems. You get divorced, and then you marry, and it goes all over again, because you
Yep.
haven't learned your lessons, you know.
Well,
So
I always pictured like the kiss and that romantic hug that you do. That's a cherry on top of a sundae. You have to have the
yeah,
basics of respect and honor and communion and conversation and trust and values and all that stuff. And then that's just the ice cream. And then you have the like the chocolate on top, which is, you know, the let me do things for you and I'll do things for me, that kind of part of the relationship. And then you have the nuts on top, which is the getting through the nuttier times, in life,
hmm,
and doing that. And then you got the foam on top, which is that you just have inspirational fun,
yeah,
which with the spray stuff, you know and then you have the sundae on top, or the
yeah,
cherry on top. And people always think that the cherry is like is you have to have everything else to have the truer love for somebody else, even a coworker. You have to have trust, you have to have communion, you have to have conversations and stuff like that in order to have a form of love for someone. Now, I
yeah,
have love for the fellow man, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to give them everything off my back.
right,
There's something that's a basic Sunday.
yeah,
That's basically the bowl. That's
hmm,
basically the bowl, when you're talking about a love for a human, the fellow human. And then you have, closer relationships as you get closer to yourself,
yeah,
kids and stuff like that.
and there's all kinds of different degrees of love, and all the love is important. I mean, like the love of a child can be more powerful than a romantic love. Love for a good friend can be more powerful. What we learned, from having people on the other side, is that this group that they're with, that they incarnate with regularly, um, when they come down and eat, and a lot of your friends come down and play different parts in your life's play, and it's all people that you love, but sometimes, like in the heavenly side, there's some souls that you're closer to than others, just because you've had more different experiences, and that's what we kind of call a soulmate, or someone that, man, they're a 10 out of 10 when you see them. But sometimes when people incarnate, and they fall in love, they're falling in love with not exactly their soulmate, but someone else that they love, and they have this relationship and everything, which is important. Um, but soulmates can be your children. You know, soulmate could be your child. It could be your mom or your dad or a coworker or the person that you're married to. You know,
Or your
it's
animal.
that, or
It
your
could be
yeah.
any. It
You
could
know,
be anybody. It's interesting how soulmates aren't necessarily what we want. What soulmates aren't always the one that gives us the cherry on top.
well, yeah, and sometimes on the other side, people that are the closest up there say, "Look, let's go down and we're going to get married this time, and I'm going to be really tough on you because you've been so codependent in these other things we've had. You need to learn to be strong and be on your own. So I'm going to play the hard to get along with husband, okay?"
Hmm.
And the other person will say, "Okay, sure, yeah, that sounds good because I need to learn that. I need to take that class." And then they come down there and they're in that relationship and they're going, "What the?
The
Oh my gosh."
heck? What the
Yeah.
heck? Oh my gosh.
But when it all comes out in the wash at the end, they go, "Wow, you know, going through these tough times with this person, look how much I learned. Look how much that we both changed until we got to this level of just we made it, because we did
Hmm.
all this work and everything." So um, it's love and relationships is probably the most confusing, most multifaceted thing that we have.
And we can have conversation after conversation
Oh,
about this. But I think
yeah.
this is a good moment, my dear, even though if it's just 10 minutes, 5 minutes
Okay.
earlier. Why don't we cut this show?
Sounds good. So everybody can go do some loving.
Do some loving. Even if you don't have someone to love with, please love yourself. Light a candle and enjoy the moment where you can say, I love me.
Yeah.
Because if anything, without you, there won't be the world around you, and you are very valuable. You are very valuable. So, anybody who's going to be watching this, even after Valentine's Day, please believe you are valuable, you are loved, and there will be a moment where you're going to make a difference in someone else's life. And that is part of us being the soul loving family that we are.
Yeah. And no matter how many mistakes you've made, how many wrong turns that you've done, just let you know that what we found in our research from the other side is they're still want to dump bunches of love on you. I mean,
Hmm.
you're accepted. You're not. I mean, because everybody goes through it. So just know that you're loved. Your life has a meaning and purpose. And if it's tough, it's to look around to see what lesson you're trying to hide from
Yep. What's this here
in
to
there.
teach me?
What's there to teach me?
What that's one of my most favorite mantras. What is this here to teach me? And even in the most happiest time, there's something there to learn. What is this here to teach me?
There
So,
always is.
Regan, how
Okay.
do people get a hold of
Oh,
you?
they can get a hold of me. It's right on the screen there. Visittheafterlife.com. Just in a nutshell, the Newton Institute, we've helped 65,000 people go to heaven and back. You get to spend a couple hours there. It's something we all, about 90% of people can do. And you can get questions answered. You can visit people that have passed on. And we've found so much in the 40 years we've been doing this. So you can get hold of my website. There's videos on there. I'm still giving away a free book. If you ask for it, you'll see them on there. Just ask for the free Reincarnation is Real, or actually, even if you want the 3 hours, 33 minutes in heaven, which is about the time I spent over there, I'll be happy if you see this video, say you saw the video, I'll send you an ebook for free.
Hmm.
And what about you, Natasha?
You can reach me at angelicclarifications.com. And I do hope that you know that no matter where you're at in the moment of grief, in the minute of sorrow, that every emotion that you have is valuable. And I love to bring that forth and bring purpose to life. So you can reach me at angelicclarifications.com. Regan and I are here every Monday, and I am actually going to have my guest, Wendy. I'm going to have her come on this show because she's
Oh, that'd be
had
nice.
some close to call life experiences, and so
Oh,
I'm
right.
going to give a moment to have a show. But Wendy is going to be back on my show on Wednesday at 4 o'clock, and she's going to talk about her spiritual walk in life, and she did not quite want to go in this spiritual walk that she's doing. She's also a hypnotherapist.
Mhm.
So with that,
Nice.
I'm going to have her. So you can reach Regan and I Mondays at 4 o'clock, and life clarifications with me, Natasha, at 4 o'clock on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Please like, share, or subscribe to the channel. And blessings to you. May blessings be with you on this journey. And we will see you next Monday.
Yeah. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, and know you're loved.